Maybe we'll start blabbing.
Let's start blabbing and put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, just start blabbing and putting on YouTube. That's sort of what we're doing right here. So maybe we'll start blabbing. Welcome. There we go. Yes. Welcome, everyone. And if you're just tuning in, this is the Staying Sane podcast. My name is Albert Nerenberg, hypnotherapist. I'm with Cassandra McLean, also hypnotherapist. And we have a regular podcast about staying sane in these crazy times. And they are, one thing I think most people agree, these are kind of crazy times. How are you, Cassandra?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling sane. I'm feeling balanced, stable, centered. How are you, Albert?
Good. You're doing a great job of modeling sanity as well. I would say really balance, focus, clarity, not taking anything too seriously. Today we're on Friday, and we thought we would do TGIF. Thank God it's Friday theme, because there's an interesting idea there with TGIF, which is when people say thank God it's Friday, they're celebrating Friday, they're celebrating the week, and there's sort of an act of cloaking something in positivity consciously. And the reason I thought this might be interesting is that I saw a really interesting post where somebody pointed out that one reason why people are unhappy is that they thought they were supposed to be happy, meaning that somehow you're just supposed to be happy.
Owed happiness.
And sorry, say that again?
You're owed happiness.
Right. You're owed happiness.
We're born on Earth, and it's your right to be happy.
Or you might assume that everyone else is happy, so maybe I'm supposed to be too, because you see people on TV that are smiling and laughing, but that's not necessarily their real state. So anyways, this person pointed out very intelligently that the human brain is not necessarily designed for happiness. That's not our focus of the human brain is designed to solve problems, which also means what? If it's designed to solve problems, it's designed to
find problems.
Yes, exactly.
I see. And if you can't find one, you'll create one.
Right. That's interesting. It's interesting you just said that, because think about it. If the brain is really good at solving problems, it might just think, oh, I better find some problems to solve, which means, and if I can't find them, I should make some. And we often find that with people that are overly troubled, it does seem that they are often in their own way.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense as well in the context of, you and I have the whatever, good luck, bad luck, who knows, but we live in developed societies and this like advanced civilization where we live pretty much in great comfort, climate control, comfy beds. We really don't have like major problems. And yet you find like the more developed a civilization, the higher rates of anxiety, depression, because it's like, I don't have the problem of, oh no, what am I going to eat for lunch? So I have to make the problem of like, my boyfriend gave me a weird look this morning.
What was that look?
And now I have to solve for X, because the mind is set like, I'm going to solve for X.
What is the name? There should be a name for this. There's a name for like, people that actually have most of their worst problems solved, and then they create problems for themselves because they don't know what, because their brain is designed to solve problems.
Right. So we want to draw attention that like, we're not accusing anyone consciously. You're creating your problems. No. Unconsciously, your subconscious, unconscious mechanisms that support the existence of a human being are designed to do this. And so they're doing it. Now we can bring conscious awareness, and that's interesting. And we can also do even deeper work by like reorganizing the subconscious.
What I was going to say is like, yeah, so let's say you're listening to us and you go, wait a second, really, my brain is designed to find problems and solve problems, and therefore I have a lot of problems. What does that mean? Well, what it means is you will then perceive your life, and many of us do, as being a bunch of problems. But first of all, that's not necessarily bad. You were designed for that. That's how you're designed, to perceive life as being problems. And this is why TGIF is so important, because what makes us happy is when we actually recognize that we are we have solved our problems, that we are solving the problems, or at least contending with them in some satisfactory way. And then Friday comes along and we say, well, I spent the whole week coping with problems. Now's the time to let go of that state and celebrate. I rhymed unintentionally, but
I like
it rhymed. So
I like it.
I mean, I think TGIF used to rub me the wrong way for some reason. I don't know why, but now I think it's actually a great. What I've noticed is that part of happiness is celebrating your wins, is recognizing wins. And it's interesting to know why some people don't, because I have some people who are like, ooh, there's kind of some superstition around this, that if you overly celebrate, I got a positive response, or people like my post, that if you overdo that, somehow that makes you overly optimistic, or a Pollyanna. But I don't think it's true. The act of recognizing good things in your life, and why, maybe I can throw it to you as a question. Why would the act of recognizing good things in your life, from a hypnotherapy point of view, make your life better?
Well, you're priming, it's exactly what we're talking about. Seek and you shall find. So knowing that you're programmed, we all are, every baby born is programmed to solve for problems. So you're seeking for problems because you have to solve them, because that's what you're designed to do. So if you start inputting in, I'm seeking reasons to be happy. I'm seeking, this is like we've talked about gratitude practice. I'm looking for the things that I'm grateful for, reasons to celebrate, reasons to feel positive. You're now adding in a new, yes, I'm going to still be a problem solver, and we want to be problem solvers because there are always little problems to solve and sometimes big problems to solve, and their life is complicated. But to have a balanced mind, right? Stability comes with balance. So knowing that, okay, I'm going to be seeking problems just naturally, it's just part of my design, and solving for them, which is also a whole dopamine circuit there, because then it's like, I solved my problem. That's my win. There are other wins besides just solving problems. There are the little wins, like it's Friday, celebrate it. It's the sun is shining. I'm celebrating it. I'm seeking and finding. I'm seeking my happiness and finding it. I'm seeking the reasons I have. I don't have to do anything or solve any problem or be anything different or make it worth it. Just, it already is. Where is it? Let me look. Where are my reasons to be happy? Oh, it's just on the calendar. It's a day. Oh, okay. I got that one. So now you're.
Also, I think what you're saying is that this is what actually precisely creates balance, because if your brain is, as we've suggested, designed to notice problems, and that's implicit, meaning you get up in the morning, your brain's going to notice problems, things for you to worry about, things to be concerned about. It's actually looking for them. The way I imagine that we evolved to look for, well, watch out for predators, that would be, it's a similar thing. So you're like, watch out for bills, or watch out for dripping faucets, or things like that. So then, because of that, that is a bunch of cortisol and a bunch of stress sometimes. And if you don't change your focus to what's good in my life, and you don't, I'm not saying you ignore, that the goal is like ignore problems and downplay them. It's more that you balance out your existence by recognizing, oh, there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of problems I've solved. There's a lot of things I've overcome. There's a lot of beauty in my life. There's a lot of wonder in my life. And when you do that, I think what you're also saying too is that you're also programming yourself to be better at noticing those things. Oh, there are a lot of good people in my life. There are a lot of good things happening. And then you become more cheerful. And you know what's interesting is that there's studies done on aging. And there's not aging, people don't get too excited about aging, but one of the weird positives about aging is that I think people get better and better at this exact skill as they age. Meaning, younger people famously tend to perceive that their life is full of more problems.
Catastrophic.
And they're more in their own way. And older people gradually learn to not sweat the small stuff, to let go of problems, or probably to decipher which are problems that you really need to focus on and which are problems you don't.
I'm laughing because what you're saying is reminding me of this meme I saw. some stupid Instagram meme, but it's just super funny. And it's this guy posted like, I keep a picture of my girlfriend in my wallet because whenever I'm having a hard day, I like to look at this photo and remember, if I can survive being in a relationship with this psychopath, I can survive anything. And I think what you're saying about older people, it's because you just survived so much. And honestly, like when I went through my divorce, it was like part of my mind was just like so despairing. But then I thought of this guy I was like stupid in love with in my early 20s. I was just like obsessively in love with this guy. It didn't work. I was like horribly depressed about it. And now when I think about him, I'm like, fucking guy, I don't care about that guy. So I would think about him and how I was like, if I could get over that, like I can get over this too. And I think by the time you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, you're just like, man, I've survived so much stuff. Like none of these problems are really all that problematic. So as younger people, we can just make the effort to remind ourselves or program it in as a natural habit that starts to run on its own automaticity that like, oh yeah, I do a lot of overcoming. I do a lot of solving. As much as I find the problems, I tend to solve most of them. That's another
Yeah.
way to restore balance because just
And
focusing on your problems is your insanity. That's the insane world. It's just like problems, 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 problems. And then when you're like launched into a strata that you really don't have impact on, right? Like the political problems of the world wars are breaking out. That's overwhelming. But even in your own life, so just like focus on I've solved many of the problems that I've been confronted with in life, and I'm still working on some, and I'm making progress, and I can take comfort in that. Balance starts to restore. And with balance, you actually get empowered, which, you know, is my whole crusade to empower others. Because when you feel empowered, when you're connected to, I have the capacity, the competence, the experience to make an impact on my life and my circles of influence, you start to actually do it.
yeah, I like what you're saying. I was going to say there's an interesting thing that in the work I think that people that one often does in hypnotherapy is that when problems arise, and I'm talking about even more serious problems, like people perception that you have maybe you have a dependence or an addiction, or you have major anxiety, or you have something or a phobia, that often how people experience it is that problem is overwhelming, and it's like a gathering storm that feels like it's going to destroy you. And it's interesting to ask the question of how people solve these kinds of problems, and they do. And it's very interesting how they often solve them, which is if you have anxiety about something, like often there's like a problem, like often have anxiety about doing my corporate taxes. And what I've realized is that it feels like I realize, oh, I'm having anxiety. So this is me just like worried about my taxes. And then I'm just like, this is me like kind of like letting myself have the feeling. And then this is me feeding the feeling, oh, it's going to be so bad. So now I'm catastrophizing. Oh, it's going to be so bad. It's going to lead to this consequence and that consequence. Instead, the minute when I start making the first steps to address the problem, I'm going to put in 5 minutes today, 10 minutes to solving this problem, getting my papers organized, calling my accountant, whatever it is. So what I do with people, and this really works, is I say, take the anxiety. Instead of feeding the anxiety and going, oh boy, I feel so anxious about this, go, every time I feel this precise anxiety, I do a little bit of work to solve that problem. So if I feel that anxiety a lot, I will do more work to solve that problem. If I feel it a little, I won't bother. But as much as I feel it, I also solve the problem. And that way you
Wire
align,
that in. You're
you
wiring
wire that in,
that.
and you wire that in trance. And then people start, not only do they reduce their anxiety, they solve their problems. And it's an example of misalignment that, and this is normal when problems come up, they come up disjointed from solutions naturally. Usually that's the way it is. But as soon as they align with an energy that's going to move towards solving them, then the problem starts solving itself. That's kind of the way it works.
Yeah. It's unusual for me to hear you use words like align with an energy that it's a little bit on the spiritual side, and I'm
Um,
for it. The more that I do the work that I do, the further I go down this rabbit hole. It's like that's what it's all about. You know, I like to speak the language of the scientists, and I like to be able to debate with a skeptic and speak the vocabulary that they're going to accept. But ultimately, once you let your skepticism, which is really just a shell that holds you back and you think you know everything, and you just like allow some humility in, it's very quickly apparent you got to align with the right energy. Like there's no better way to say it. You got to align your energy, man.
Yeah.
It
I
really
think
is what it's all about here.
I think you're right. Well, I think people underestimate. Well, maybe we should define it for people that might want to try to understand it. But alignment would be, so misalignment would be you have a perception of a problem. Like trying to give a good example, like it's causing you anxiety, and what you do, and instead of dealing with it, of course, you avoid it, which is kind of natural. So when people express this feeling of like, I've got really big problems, they're usually in the business of avoiding them. It feels like there's a cougar in a cage in my bedroom, and I'm afraid to go to sleep. That's how sometimes problems come about. And so if if you were to look at solutions and what alignment is, what is the solution to the cougar in your bedroom? Well, it might be to actually bring in specialists and take the cougar out, but it might be also maybe feed the cougar, get it some water, talk to it gently. There might be some initial steps that might be useful. And alignment is using your fear, instead of your fear being a thing that you just suppress, you use all the energy that the fear is creating to move towards solutions. And that is alignment. I'll give you another funny example. Sometimes I have people who have insomnia come to me, and I don't do this so much anymore, but when you understand the unconscious, so when insomnia is a good example of an unconscious phenomenon, because conscious mind wants one thing. It wants to go to sleep. Conscious mind wants to go to sleep. That's very clear. For some reason, the unconscious mind is keeping you awake. So I used to say to people, go to a store or go to your bookcase and find the most boring book you can find. Make it big and tell your unconscious mind, or just say to yourself, if you keep me up, we're going to read this book. And I always say to people, well, did you read the book? And they'd be like, no, I fell asleep. And it's like a really interesting example of like how to kind of corral the unconscious to do what you want. Because the unconscious doesn't want to read the boring book.
Sure, that's one technique. Yeah, that's playing a game. I like to. We're going to do an entire episode just on the phenomena of sleep, and then
it's a big deal. Yeah, insomnia is a big deal.
Sane and your mental health and your physical health. That's a whole episode coming up. So if you're listening and you want to hear about that, make sure you're subscribed and you smash that bell, as the YouTubers say, right? So you don't. But I will say that I work with people who come to me with sleep issues, and I like to really solve, not just here's how to get yourself to sleep, but like, what is it that's really keeping you up? Mm-hmm. And I tend to, it's men mostly, like older men, middle-aged and up, I always slept well, and now all of a sudden I'm not sleeping so well. It's like, let's find out what's going on down there. And it's always some sense of internal pressure that's, I shouldn't say always, but majority of the cases, these individuals feel like they're not allowed to sleep. It's like, I have too much to do. Time is running out. I can't sleep. I need to keep solving problems mentally.
Big problems.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking or solving my problems or working on, I got to do this, I got to do that, I have to accomplish this, I have to leave my legacy behind. What about I have to provide for my children? Like, they're just like, it's thinking, because if you sleep, it's like, I haven't earned the right to sleep. It's like where these men, they tend to be like high performing, CEO type, like, higher upper class men. This is like a type of client that I keep attracting. And I always start with a blank slate with a client, right? I don't think like, oh, I know your type. I always let everybody just be your own unique individual. But I have noticed this pattern of, Yeah, I'm not allowed to sleep. So then we, you know, we really get wisdom, intelligence, love, compassion in. And then those men they don't need to, you know, read a book or play a game. They just like, wow, I slept like a baby last night. I'm like, see, when you love yourself.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Not to give too much away. So, in case you're just tuning in, this is the Staying Sane podcast, how to stay sane in a crazy world. We were talking about sleep, but we're going to do a whole session on sleep because hypnotherapy can be very, very effective for sleep problems. And also that it is now considered to be an epidemic in America in particular, where people have become really bad at sleeping. So many people have insomnia, do not feel alone and isolated. And people often feel this way. They feel like, oh, I'm the only one who's up in the middle of the night. But no, it's weird. It's probably if you're in a crowded New York apartment building and you're up in the middle of the night, probably the people in the next apartment, they're up in the middle of the night too, not sleeping.
Very possible. But yeah, let's shelve it for now and leave a little cliffhanger on the topic of sleep because we do have a lot to say and we're both releasing products that will help those who are looking for sleep assistance. So moving back to the nature of the mind to seek problems as by design. We're looking for problems, solving problems. That's the design of the human brain. And we've said,
and I like we sort of happened on this idea that you sort of suggested that because our brain is so well designed to solve problems, that we may be creating problems that are not there so that we can try to solve them.
Definitely are. Not amazing. 100% that's happening.
Yes.
I think I've shared this with you in the past, but sometimes when I feel like I'm just like, things are happening and I don't like it. This is a problem. This is a problem.
Yeah.
I play a game in my mind where I say, pretend that it's 200 years ago. Instead of 2025, the year is 1825, and I'm in the exact same scenario. How do I feel about it now? I have no problems. Yesterday, I got home at 11 o'clock at night. I was out socializing. I opened my door. I have an inch of water all over the floor. There's electronics in this puddle. There was a water pressure issue. And while I was out, some pipe just water's everywhere. But ultimately, if it was the year 1825, hey, baby, I've got running water inside.
That is known as the psychological reframe. You reframe the problem as, I've got water.
Another powerful reframe that I'd love to give to you and to our audience, to those who give us their time and we give you in return, hopefully value to apply to your life. That's the idea. This one comes from who I like to call my star client. He's been with me for, oh my gosh, almost a year. He just loves working with me and I love working with him. He's an extraordinary person. And one thing that he had me, this is his languaging, he had me program in is he no longer sees problems as problems. He sees problems as puzzles and riddles. How smart is that? I took that one. When he said, I want you to program into me that I see problems as puzzles. I was like, I'll program that into you and myself later today. Thank you, sir.
I think, you know what I get from that too is that one thing people I think underestimate about problems is that when you experience problems, there's often a feeling of urgency. And if you look at people who are really good, I remember there's been some people, this is in Canadian politics famously, when there was big crises, that often people would become hysterical about certain things. And there was some of our best leaders would often say, I don't know what the rush is. This is a problem that we can just solve down the road, and we can just take care of it in time. And I've learned a lot from that. And I've seen that be very effective in life. That if you can look at problems, you start to learn. I'm very excited by this idea, about that aging. The one good thing about aging, there's probably more than one, but one of the good things about aging is that problems become less and less serious. One is that maybe your problems are less serious, but two, your feelings about your problems are less grave, and you also take them less seriously. But this but I guess the point, sorry, I wasn't making that clearly, is that part of solving problems is that they also do not need to be solved right away. There might be problems that do, like a burst water pipe might need to be solved right away, but most problems people miscalculate how urgent they are, and that you can solve them in time when you're ready. Sleep on it, and this ability to go, I'll solve that problem tomorrow, is a big advantage emotionally, I think, to because otherwise it's going to keep you up at night. Oh, I didn't solve that.
The other thing to do is to play with a sense of time distortion, which you can will upon yourself even just by talking slowly, which is something I do with clients sometimes. I'll say,
I have something to say about this.
You can say everything you want to say. I'm just going to ask you to turn down the speed. And that makes the mind process differently. But in dancing, as you know, I'm a dancer. My big show with the orchestra is tomorrow, and I'm prepared.
I want to tell us about it, but there's something really interesting about the point you're making right now. Keep going.
Let me say this first. In very fast dancing, in the world of tango, there's a type of tango dancing called milonga. And it's a little different, and it's more like, and there's a lot of fast movements. The feet are like, the way to execute rapid movements is to pretend, magic word in hypnosis and hypnotherapy, pretend that it's slower than it is. If you're like, oh my God, the music's moving so fast, I have to move my feet, you're like flopping all over the place like a fish. But if it's just like, the music isn't that fast, it's actually kind of slow, I can move slowly. You're not. You're going to stay on rhythm. I'm not going to not be in rhythm. I'm a dancer. I'm not, this is not my first lesson, right? But it's like, just pretend it's not actually that fast. It's just, this is what it is. It's this rhythm, and I'm moving slowly. So my feet are actually at rhythm, which is fast, but my mental experience is, I got all the time in the world to execute this step. And you can do that with anything that you're dealing with that feels like it's so fast, or it's so now, or it's urgent, but it's actually not. You can slow how you speak and think. And
so just so I understand this, these dance steps are actually very fast, and they would look quite frantic. But rather than you say to yourself, now I have to get frantic to match this speed, I actually do it in a relaxed way, but I recognize that it moves very fast. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And this is actually a specific point of a broader point that I've had in the back of my mind in this conversation with you here today, which is about, oh gosh, I just lost it. It keeps coming and going. It's about uncollapsing subjective and objective. So when we think about problems, it's because we've put meaning into a situation. So one way to get very calm or get control over your thoughts is, something is happening and it means this. But when you take the meaning out and just let it be what it is, right? So like, this beat is da, 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 and it means it's really fast and I have to dance really well. No, it doesn't. It just, there's no meaning. This is just the rhythm. Ba, 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 ba. It doesn't have to mean anything. My problem doesn't have to mean that my life is going to be over. My friends aren't going to like me anymore. I'm going to lose it doesn't mean any of that. It just means, oh, there's water on the floor. I should get a mop. I should call maintenance. It doesn't mean, oh my God, my laptop's ruined. I can't sleep in this bed tonight. Where am I going to sleep? They're not even answering the phone. Doesn't mean anything. It just, there's water on the floor. Objective reality. When subjective reality starts layering on top, that's where you get in anxiety loops and meaning and meaning and meaning that's hurting you. But it's all just made up. All the meaning that you put into your life, you just completely made it up. So as you made it up, you can disappear it. Just give that up, let it go. You can look at the nothing, no meaning, just what is, what's so, what are the facts. If you want to put meaning on that's valuable or helps you or gives you a better quality of life or some perspective that opens up possibilities, you can do that. Or you can just be with the objective facts of, I have to pay this bill. It costs $1,000. I have 900 in the bank. My objective reality is I'm missing $100. Does it mean that I'm a garbage person who's worthless and poor? No, it means I have to pay this. I have this. I need to come up with that.
Yeah.
and doesn't mean anything about you.
Yes, I understand. Actually, I really like what you're saying, and this is. I think we can we can add this one component, which is that because people have often learned to catastrophize, and we often learn this from parents, or we've seen, or actually from television, where people often freak out and get upset. And what's interesting to learn, sorry, one of the ways out of this is to ask yourself, why am I catastrophizing? And what you learn fairly quickly is that somehow you thought it was a better thing to do. Somewhere you learn that if I attach meaning, as you say, to the problem, and the meaning might be I'm a big loser, I'm the person who always messes up, or something like that. Somewhere you thought that would make the problem solve itself faster or better. And what you actually realize that no, it's not solving the problem. Me beating myself up, me redefining myself negatively is not solving the problem. And we also know why we do this. You know, when we were younger and we made mistakes, there was often a good reason. You know, you pooped your pants in school, that's bad, and you smell bad, that's a problem. But now sometimes it's not always so it's good for you to maybe feel like, oh, I make mistakes and I can be bad, but as that moves forward in life, you beating yourself up as an adult doesn't usually solve your problems. Self hurt isn't a great problem solving strategy. Even when you've made mistakes, weirdly enough. That's interesting. But even when you're like, I should have known better and I could have known better and I still did something dumb, it's good to be able to say that. But the emotion of like, I'm a bad human being is actually not necessarily taking you to a better place.
Never, 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 never. I think guilt and shame exist for a reason. They've evolved for a reason. And that reason is to stop you from repeating the behavior. And I've had this conversation with clients. Again, conversations are interesting and valuable, but you need to go deep into your subconscious in trance, working with a qualified professional to really get the transformation. But conscious understanding, again, has its place, and that's why we're having this conversation. But it is helpful when your conscious mind like really gets it. Feeling ashamed after you've already committed to not repeat the behavior is bringing no value to you or to the person or people that you've wronged, or the situation that is now messed up. Like, what's done is done. What happened happened.
But let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. But why are you feeling ashamed? Why is it that you're feeling ashamed? And I would say, well, what would be your answer? Why are you feeling the shame?
Well, it's a situation by situation it's a situation by situation.
I know. I would guess because somebody wanted you to when you were a kid.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Somebody wanted you to feel shame so that you would stop doing the thing. But that behavior is no longer serving you.
How many terrible, well, I shouldn't say terrible parents, but parents who act in terrible moments will say to their child, you should be ashamed of yourself. Way to do a lifetime of damage to your kid in one sentence, you know? Unfortunately, very true. But you're right. Yeah, it's complicated though, because then I'm thinking from the parent perspective, from the adult perspective, where you have a kid who's like throwing mashed potatoes at the wall and laughing, and you need them to understand, like, don't do that. And just being like, don't do that. It's not good. And they're like, ha, 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 like a little Dennis the Menace, little gremlin kid. And so like for a parent and who's like, not an enlightened being, or or like just a stressed out average person who happens to have a kid coloring on the walls and laughing in their face and defying them, right? Like you end up, something comes out that ends up instilling guilt and shame because you just need that kid to stop doing that thing. And like the gentle approach doesn't always work, especially if you're not super resourced as that adult with like, I have like a co-parent with me and a supportive environment and enough money, or maybe a nanny and a babysitter. Like maybe you're just like a single parent. It's very complex. It's very complex.
Well, I would, I think I know why you're saying that, which is we don't want to sound like I don't think we're trying to say that there's no such thing as bad behavior and there's no such thing as That you shouldn't say somebody you did something wrong, or that there be certain situations where you should be ashamed of yourself. I personally think the Republican Party of America should be ashamed of itself this week. I think that. So, but I would say that it is the collapsing factor of shame that is not healthy, meaning I'm driving in my car and I take the wrong turn, and now I'm going to be 3 minutes late for my appointment. And what happens is I feel so much shame and I feel so bad, because what I'm really doing is I'm going back to an old pattern where, when I made a mistake when I was a kid or a teenager or something, somebody said, "You are a bad human, and you're just bad." And that I'm using those feelings thinking they will help me. They're there and I'm allowing them to happen because I think they will help me. But what it really does is it jacks up my cortisol, it's shortening my life, and it's also affecting my self-esteem. And now I'm allowing it because I think, well, maybe it'll help me avoid taking wrong turns. And there is some truth to that, but we tend to overdo it. We tend to feel way worse and than the situation merits. Most people do. I'm sure there's some people who don't.
Sure. Whether it's most or some, there's enough
Yeah.
that this is a valuable conversation, but I want to go drive deeper, because the pattern is not the deepest layer. The belief is the deepest root. The belief about myself that I screw everything up, that's formed when I was 3 or 4 or 5 years old, that created a pattern that I'm now trying to consciously, like, be an overachiever or be a perfectionist so that I don't have to deal with that belief. And then when I make a mistake, like I just took the wrong turn and crap, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to my meeting. Now it's just an evidence that's popped up in my conscious awareness that says, see, go down to the root belief. You always screw everything up. So we got to go all the way down to, you believe something about yourself deeply in your subconscious mind that keeps you, other parts of your mind are trying to protect you from knowing that you believe that about yourself by overcompensating behaviors or denying or suppressing or whatever. But eventually something happens and then it pops up to the surface like a balloon you're trying to hold down under the ocean water. And ultimately it's always going to pop up, and then it's going to hurt, and we, as hypnotherapists, we want to get way down to that belief, find out where did that come from, when, and let's work right there in that core with in that moment in time that lives in the present, in your mind, in this moment right now, and make a choice.
But why do that? And I would say why is because you're going to keep going there. Every time you have similar kinds of problems, you will go back to this idea, I'm a useless fuck up, for lack of a better term, and you're going to go there, and your unconscious thinks it's helping you, or part of you thinks it's helping you, because this is going to teach you not to make these mistakes. But what it's really doing usually is just replaying a sad story from your past.
Bingo.
And yeah, it's Friday, not the day where you want to replay sad stories from your past.
Right. So a small win that you can celebrate, in addition to it's Friday, is that you're consuming valuable content and bringing ideas to the forefront of your mind that transformation is possible, and that we are all inherently valuable, worthy, good enough souls in this world, doing our best. The more we resource our subconscious and conscious minds, the more resources we bring in, like good ideas and working with qualified professionals and managing our expectations and et cetera, et cetera. I'm this kind of person. I'm a person who's evolving and advancing. Just celebrate that.
It's interesting. I like that you said managing expectations, because I think this is because we've been talking about, just for people that might be tuning in, this sort of central idea of what makes people unhappy. And one of the things that makes people unhappy is the expectation that they're supposed to be happy just automatically. You wake up and you're supposed to be happy. Well, that's not how people actually work. They wake up in the morning and they're a little bit dopey and often a little bit stressed. Their brain is designed to find problems, so they are looking for problems unconsciously sometimes. And then if they can't find them, they will sometimes make them. So they'll get into an argument with somebody, or they'll find something to feel bad about. And so one of the secrets to a happier life, one, is obviously a more maybe optimistic point of view. Two, knowing when not to engage, knowing when you're not, you don't really have a serious problem. And as you pointed out, these kind of psychological reframes, sometimes there's a way to reframe a situation, to recognize it's not a problem. And then the other part is also to challenge expectations, because I really noticed that the number one way that people beat themselves up in life is with expectations. I thought this vacation would be better. I thought this party would be better. I thought this hotel room would be nicer. I thought this podcast would be more entertaining. I thought this, and they're like, God, I have a crappy life. Like, everything's crappy, and that is the way that people beat themselves up, I think.
Yeah, I'm living proof. This whole tango show that I've got going on tomorrow is a lot of unrealistic expectations that I've foisted upon myself, and having to give that up. The
okay,
happiness.
So tell us
freedom.
the story. Tell us the story, because it might be interesting for people. So tell us the story of tango.
Okay, my story of tango or the history of tango? They're very
Maybe
different.
not the history of tango. Maybe your story is a little easier.
All right. My personal history of tango is that in 2018, I went to Buenos Aires for the first time. And
Argentina.
Argentina, yeah. And I embarked on an intense journey of educating myself and learning how to dance Argentine tango. For the first 2 months, I just loved it. I felt like I'm a natural, like, this is for me. I love this. This is cool. This is fun. I'm naturally good at it. I was super into it. Then I got involved with a professional dancer. I got involved with him romantically. And in my mind, this was going to be like I was just living cinema, right? Like, here's this professional dancer and I'm going to be like his star, and he's going to groom me and teach me and be so proud of me. And like, it's going to be like literally the story of a movie where like I was just learning, and then in no time at all, like, we fell in love and I was dancing great. And it didn't go that way. It didn't go that way at all. In fact, it just became a torture chamber for me psychologically. I married this man, probably shouldn't have. We're talking about what drives people insane. And I can tell you my personal experience. I was driven to insanity because I was so obsessed with the story. And this is even like hashtag do it for the narrative, right? You've heard of that?
No, what is hashtag do it for the narrative? Because is it what you're saying? Is that you had a narrative?
Yeah, like, do it for the story, to be like, oh, I did this, I did that.
Right.
And
just so to explain to people, so you had a narrative of the love story that was, you're the tango dancer, you meet this professional and you excel and he loves you, and it's happily ever after. Or that's the narrative.
That was the narrative. That was the story. That was the image that I wanted to live and project. I wanted it to be sincere. I didn't just want to project an image. I wanted it to be real, but it wasn't. And I couldn't face reality insanely, okay? Because I was so like, but the story is so beautiful that I went to Buenos Aires and we fell in love and we danced together. But he never liked dancing with me because he was a professional level dancer and I just was a beginner. And, again, subjective and objective reality. Objective reality, this person has been dancing for 15 years and is committed to it, where he's dancing 15 hours or more a day every day for 15 years. Like, that's his level of commitment. I'm not even from this culture. I'm here on vacation. I'm learning. Just objective reality, right? Like, we're not, those numbers are not going to be a match. Subjective reality. What did I make it mean about me, about him, about how he felt about me, about how I was never going to be good enough? But I just stayed in it. I stayed in it. And I was like obsessed with proving myself that yes, I can be a professional level dancer. even though it was just like such a mixed up, tangled web, um, it really impacted our ability to have a functional relationship. We did not. We did not have a functional relationship. I was doing it for the narrative. I don't know why he was with me. I mean, we loved each other, of course, in a way, but like that, what does that mean when people love each other? It means a different thing to any two people who say it to each other. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. You're asking for what's my story with tango dancing. So I divorced this man, or he divorced me, or we divorced each other. But I kept dancing, and I was so psychically damaged for 6 years I was with this man, and I was just like, all I wanted was that I felt like he would love to dance with me. Like I would dance my best and I would feel good. I'd be like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Like he's going to like it. He's going to be happy this time. And the dance would be over and I'd like look at him like waiting for him to be like, wow, that was beautiful. And it was always like, nice. And just the heartbreak over and over again, like looping in my own suffering, but thinking, no, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Sometimes you got to accept defeat. Like I was never going to please him. I was just never going to be a good enough dancer for him. That doesn't mean that I'm not good enough. It means that for his standards as a professional who's been dancing for 15 years with his level of commitment and his experience dancing with other people who are at that level, no, he's not going to feel about dancing with me the way he feels about people who dance at his level of commitment. That doesn't mean anything about me. I know that in objective reality, but I had made it mean a lot about me. And that's where my suffering came in. After we split, I went on a mission to reclaim. There was a time before I met this man that I just liked dancing, and it had nothing to do with somebody else's vision of my dancing or his opinion of my dancing. It was just how I felt in my body doing this thing that's fun with this music that I like in this way that is for me cool. So I've been on a journey to get back to that. And my show, which is tomorrow, is my ritual to really reclaim that I am free from all that past, all that story. And I'm not going to be a professional level dancer tomorrow. I'm going to do my best. My expectation of my performance tomorrow has to be generous to myself. If I want to enjoy myself, I have to let my expectation be, I'm not going to, I'm not going to, I'm going to confess it to you, Albert, and whomever is listening. I think when I set this up, when I manifested the situation, because I'm in a paradise, we have over 50 reservations for tomorrow's performance. There's a live orchestra. And my tango dance partner is a super high level professional. And I will shout out to Federico Cachero, who is a dear friend, who's very much a healing agent for me in this journey. And on this, like preparing for this show, I've been like, a lot of the old stuff has been coming up. And obviously I'm doing hypnotherapy to like clear it away and deal with those issues. But it's really like deeply lodged in there. And going through a divorce, like, it's not like 3 sessions of hypnotherapy and you'll forget all about your ex. Like, no, it's, clearing layers and clearing layers. And he had this beautiful thing he said to me. He said, because I'm like, I want to quit. I'm never going to be good enough, because I thought I did. I was lying to myself. But I confessed it to myself a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I think deep down, I thought with Federico, I'll just get really good really fast. I'll use hypnotic programming. I'll just like become like a super good tango dancer really fast. And then we'll like have a video, and then my ex will see it and he'll be like, wow, she was right all along. She is great. Like I was in a la la land, right? And like I had to get real, because here's the facts. Tango is super hard. Like being a very high level tango dancer, it's not easy. It's not like learning the cha-cha or like swing dancing. Swing dancing, you can pick it up real fast. It's like you're bouncing around and having fun. The tango, to really be precise and expert level, there's kind of like, even the fast route is just takes a lot. It takes a lot. And I've got a lot, but I just, whatever. So I'm now entering the sphere of, my expectation is not that I'm going to be the best dancer. My expectation, my request of myself, and my commitment are that I'm going to return to what it is that I've been looking for, which is enjoyment, pleasure, fun, self-expression, connection, a demonstration of joy. And I can bring that. My technique is not going to be perfect.
if you'll permit, I'm going to maybe suggest we can look at it. There's an interesting way to look at it from a hypnotherapy lens, is that it seems like, and tell me if this is true, that you were trapped in a loop. The loop was because the loop got so deep of, can I somehow impress my husband? And that loop became embedded. It became more and more powerful. And even when the marriage ended, the loop was still there. So what that did is it took tango away from you. You could not enjoy it because actually the loop in a sense escalated. Now, after the marriage, when you do the tango, you're still dancing for him, not for you. And it's even harder to impress him because he's not even here. But
and not only that, before we were even divorced, he was already in a relationship with a professional dancer.
Which
so
is
I will never impress him. He's finally happy because he's dancing with somebody who he actually likes dancing with, which was never ever going to be me. It's like if I was married to a man who just really wanted a woman who was stacked. It's like, I just can't be her. Like, these are my boobs. I cannot be who I'm not. Like, I cannot be that. And now he's got this woman who her body and the way that she can move, because she's probably been dancing since she's like 5 or something. I don't know anything about her. I don't want to know. All I know is that not only will I not impress him because he's not around, he couldn't care less about how I'm dancing because he's with somebody that he actually likes and respects.
Now,
I need to be out of the loop.
Right. So you need to get out of this loop. And that's exactly what it sounds like. So just so people understand, so you are in Tulum, and there might be people listening who are in nearby. You're doing a show tomorrow. This is Saturday night with an orchestra, a tango show. What is the name of the show, and where is it?
So we are at Aflora, Tulum. The restaurant inside of Aflora, which is like a complex, is called Panza. And the name of the orchestra is Infectango. And the event is called Noche Argentina, or like Argentine night. So the restaurant is going to be doing a special menu of like Argentine asado, which is like grilled meats, and we'll have red wine and empanadas. And then we'll have the tango orchestra, and we'll have the Argentine tango dancing where I show up.
And so I guess the question will be, will you find a way to actually do this for you or for others? I don't think you have to necessarily just do it for you, but you have to escape the loop, the loop that was this loop of self hurt and bad feelings. And so am I framing it right? Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I've already set myself up. Like I think I've shared with you that I have this practice called standing in the future fulfilled. So I decide that the future is July 6th. Like July 6th, 9 a.m., I'm having my breakfast and I'm thinking, this has already happened, right? So the future is fulfilled on July 6th. So let me speak to you from July 7th. And I'm saying, yesterday morning when I woke up, I had my breakfast and I was thinking about the previous night, what a success it was, how much fun I had dancing with my friend who loves dancing with me. This is why I said Fede is a healing agent for me. He actually really enjoys dancing with me. My ex
think you're
did
good.
not enjoy dancing with me.
Right. And
he wanted me to be someone I wasn't.
Right.
That's why he accepts me as I am.
That's right. Accepts you as you are. That's why it's so healing.
As a hypnotherapist is interpersonal hypnotherapy. It's the 525th hour of my school's pedagogy is the interpersonal hypnotherapist certification. And interpersonal hypnotherapy, or interpersonal anything, acknowledges you don't do anything on your own. The nature of healing, the nature of wellness, the nature of health and happiness is interpersonal, and you can't escape that. So we want to be really good to ourselves in who we bring into our world, in who we associate, who we spend our time with, who we invest in, whose opinions we say, okay, that person's opinion is valuable to me. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to give it credit or weight. We are created by the energies of others that we're mixing with, and we're sharing and they're sharing. This is how we exist interpersonally. It's a web. We do not exist as points. It's a web. So now I'm dancing with somebody who, like, he's not telling me I like dancing with you, but he doesn't. He does. I know he does. And that helps me.
And I think what's key here is that we should point out that before you were dancing in a loop. By that I mean of no matter how hard you tried, you could never feel good about your dance. And now you already feel good about your dance. You already feel good about it, this new partner who accepts you as you are. And that's what counts. And the internal emotions count as well. The fact that you are probably feeling good while you do it. And I guess the show, I guess we'll have to see. But I think what you also said too is that you visualize the night coming off well. And the point of doing that is not false expectations. People often think that. You're not doing it so I'm just going to imagine a show. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to imagine it going great. Instead, you're doing, I'm going to imagine it going great, and your unconscious mind is going to fill in the blanks. It will help you do the things that will make sure this show goes well.
Yes. And remember what Neville Goddard teaches, feeling is the secret. I'm feeling that on the morning of July 6th, I wake up feeling good, happy, reflecting on how the previous night everyone was enjoying themselves. The restaurant was full of people. My friends were congratulating me. I'm feeling into, and this is what we do, when we're hypnotically programming somebody, or I don't know, in your practice, but after a hypnotic programming session, it's always see yourself now that you have these qualities of being that we were programming in. One thing I like to put into my programming, you can use this if you don't already, is like, I tell people, imagine yourself looking in the mirror that you look at yourself in every day. But now when you look in the mirror, you see X, Y, and Z, right? See yourself smiling. Notice how your posture has opened up, how you stand a little taller. Like, feel into it. Feel it. I love to add that into my hypnotic programming. Feel it. Feel it. I'll tell somebody, like, you are now, whatever, full of confidence. You find it easier and easier each and every day to feel good about who you are naturally, because you are somebody who is on a path that you choose to improve and be better. And that enough is a reason to feel good about yourself. Feel it now. Feel it now. I also like to tell people, allow yourself to feel good about yourself in this moment. Because that's a snag that people have. It's like, that I won't even allow myself to feel good about myself. Well, allow it for a moment. Or, we're in the nature of hypnotherapy. Just pretend. If you could imagine what it would feel like to be confident, how do you think that might feel? We got to find any way to get people in. But the point I'm making is that feeling is the secret. So I'm not just visualizing that I'm dancing well. I'm visualizing that I'm, again, dancing well. It's not about well, it's about the spirit of it. I'm connected with my partner. We're smiling, where my legs are moving. I've been dancing for 7 years. I'm not going to fuck it up. This isn't like I learned last week. I've got 7 years of a commitment to this art form. So feel into it, Cassandra. What does it feel like when I'm actually enjoying it and letting it be what it is, and trusting that whatever happens, happens. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what I said is my commitment is to doing my best and doing it in the spirit of, I'm making a ritual of my freedom from the past. This is not about proving that I can be a technically perfect expert level dancer, because I'm not. If I wanted to be, I could, and that would take something else. It would take changing my career. It would take investing thousands of dollars into lessons. It would take many more hours of practice and varied partners and being in communities and networks.
But letting that go is literally moving on. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to move on. And so getting out of this old loop that I'm permanently trying to impress my ex-husband, and now you're creating a whole
losing game, a guaranteed loser.
Yeah. So okay, just to wrap up, we're gonna say so if people are in Tulum, that the show is tomorrow night.
July 5th, Saturday, July 5th.
And anybody can go, like the tickets, I assume, or is it into the is it the cost of going to the restaurant, or anybody can go? How does it work?
Yeah, so there's an entrada or like an entry fee of
Okay.
250 pesos, which is like 12 bucks.
Okay.
Um, and that's, for the show. And then the restaurant is going to have a beautiful menu. It's a really beautiful place. Like if you're in
Yeah.
or around Tulum, it really is worth coming out for this special night. Where a lot of very good people at a very cool place are working hard to make this night a success, and it will be. So that should be enticing enough. And also you'll get to witness me breaking through from what previously held me back. And
Yes.
the paradox that I'm present to, and thank you for this conversation. And I do hope that, me sharing more intimately of my personal life and my story is valuable or inspiring in some way to others. But the paradox that I'm present to is that me doing a professional level tango show, right? Like there's a stage and there's an orchestra and I'm the dancer. That's but the
Curious.
success is that I'm reclaiming it as my hobby, where I'm giving up that I have to be a professional, that I can just be a hobbyist who just has fun with it. That's my success in the night. Is not to say now I've proven because I have this event that I'm a pro. I'm proving that I'm not a pro and it's fine. I can be good enough just as I am. Because
That
you know
actually
what?
sounds like the plot of a Hollywood rom-com or something like that. It does sound, it's like, yeah, it's just very human. That's how
You're
you
telling
get
me
to
my cinema has completed itself, and you are a filmmaker, so I'm going to
yeah,
take it from you. I
yeah.
was stuck in the do it for the
It,
narrative.
it is do it
Didn't
for the
play the thing
narrative.
at the end.
And you're also closing the loop on our happiness principle, which is the idea that is part of the secret is to not torture yourself with expectations and more achieve goals that are realizable. Like, I'm just going to entertain people and have a good time in a beautiful place. That's enough. You are enough. You know, that is enough. It's great. So, well, I mean, still, I'm only joking when I say like the chandelier could fall from the ceiling and, so, something could happen. You, but let's see how it goes. Part of the proof will be in the pudding. I was going to say there's some hypnotherapist heal thyself going on here, but yeah, that's great. Let's see how it
Yes,
goes.
you know that I'm very committed to my personal work. I'm a huge stand against the hypocrisy of I got a degree, now I help people heal, but my own life is a mess. And that's
Yeah,
also why I'm willing to talk about it, because it's like, you know what? If a week from now I'm like, no, it wasn't good, you probably don't want to work with me because I'm not living evidence. I want to work with people who are living their work. And I'm committed to being that person. This has been helpful for me. Thank you. But I want to say one more thing because you
yes.
inspired me. And it's this, because you said, setting our expectations and our goals. But something that comes from the story I just shared is that make sure that the goal that you're committed to is your goal, or that
Yes.
it's pure. Me
Yes.
having the goal of like dancing as an expert was never really my goal in the first place. It's
It
just
wasn't
something
you.
I got caught up
Yeah.
with. And it was
Yes.
coming from like a childhood, like obviously it's all childhood. We know that. So like something in my childhood was like, I'll never be good enough, but I'm going to prove that I can be. And then I just grew up with that. And then I found a new situation called tango where that a pattern repeated itself in just a new skin. Um, my real goal, the sincere goal of Cassandra, outside of all that unhealthy stuff, just getting back centered with myself. What do I care about? You know what it is: peace, love, joy. Those are my goals. Those are it. That's it. That is it. Peace, love, joy, happiness, laughter, kindness, generosity, healing, wellness, hugs,
TGIF. TGIF as well.
gratitude.
Yes.
These are the things I actually care about. That's it.
Yeah.
So when I get centered on what do I actually value, and what am I set out to achieve in my life, and those are the things, then I can reevaluate what my expectations are of myself. Can I realistically expect myself to represent my values? Yeah. And now it's easy.
Okay, well, I guess the proof will be in the pudding, as they say. We'll have to see how it goes. Not to put any pressure on you. I think already we could say the process itself has been, sounds like it's been wonderful and healing. So, but let's just see how it plays out. I'm curious. So, so just thank you, everyone. Anybody who's been watching this, we've been talking about, we're calling this TGIF, and we've been talking about the propensity for in human nature to create problems for ourselves, and that is partly because we are problem-solving machines. And that one of the solutions that we've suggested is that doing stuff that makes you happy without having expectations that ruin those experiences is one of the big secrets to enjoying your life. And it turns out that there's this bonus factor that this is one skill that tends to get better with age. So let's hear it for aging.
Let's hear it for getting wiser.
Yes, older and wiser. That's right.
Older and
Okay.
wiser.
All right. So have a great show.
Thank you, my friend.
All
And
right.
thank you to everyone who gave us your time